All right, welcome back, students. Hope you had a great weekend. We're going to hit the ground running this week with Unit 2. There's actually a little more to do this week than there was last week. But before that, it's Monday, and a tradition in my classroom is to watch some inspirational, motivational video to help us get our mindset for the week, inspire us, motivate us. So here we go. All right, this video is called What Most Schools Don't Teach. Reminder to take headphones out of your ears, off your head, this one time per week. Hopefully the volume is okay.
I was 13 when I...
Whoa. Hold on, Bill. It's too much for Monday morning. Let's dial it down.
I first got access to a computer.
My parents bought me a Macintosh in 1984 when I was 8 years old.
I was in 6th grade.
I learned to code in college.
Freshman year, first semester, intro to computer science.
I wrote a program to play tic-tac-toe.
I think it was pretty humble beginnings. I think the first program I wrote asked things like, what's your favorite color? Or how old are you?
I first learned how to make a green circle and a red square appear on the screen.
The first time I actually had something come up and say, hello, world.
Hey, I have a question for y'all. Do you know this guy? Yeah? Creator of Valve and Steam. Okay. Are his glasses really that small, or is his head that big? Yes. Both. Okay.
And I made a computer do that. It was just astonishing.
Learning how to program didn't start off as wanting to learn all of computer science or trying to master this discipline or anything like that. It just started off because I wanted to do this one simple thing. I wanted to make something that was fun for myself and my sisters. And I wrote this little program and then basically just add a little bit to it. And then when I needed to learn something new, I looked it up either in a book or on the internet and then added a little bit to it.
It's really...
And now he runs one of the biggest companies in the world. Meta, formerly Facebook.
not unlike kind of playing an instrument or something, or
Not him.
you know, or playing a sport. It starts out being very intimidating, but you kind of get the hang of it over time.
Coding is something that can be learned, and I know it can be intimidating a lot.
I'm not that big of a basketball fan. Does anybody know this guy? Chris? No? I guess he's an older basketball player now.
A lot of things are intimidating, but you know, what isn't?
A lot of the coding that people do is actually fairly simple. It's more about the process of breaking down problems than, you know, sort of coming up with complicated algorithms as people traditionally think about it.
Okay. That guy just said the most important thing for you to understand about learning how to write code is just breaking down small problems and figuring it out. It's not being a master coder who can conjure algorithms from his fingers, okay? It's just breaking it down into small problems and solving them. That's all coding is.
Breaking down.
Yeah. No, you're thinking about what you want to do in the game, and then you figure out what code will make that happen. That's it. That's okay. Don't worry about that. You don't have to know the code like it's a language, okay? That we can look it up. You just need to know what you're trying to do and figure out the code you need to solve it. That's it.
Problems than, you know, sort of coming up with complicated algorithms as people traditionally think about it.
You don't have to be a genius to know how to code. You need to be determined.
Addition, subtraction, that's about it.
You should probably know your multiplication tables.
You don't have to be a genius to code. Do you have to be a genius to read?
Even if you want to become a race car driver or play baseball, or, you know, build a house, and all of these things have been turned upside down by software.
What it is, you know, computers are everywhere. You want to work in agriculture? Do you want to work in entertainment? Do you want to work in manufacturing? You know, it's just all over.
are 2013. We all depend on
Okay, he just dated this video, 2013. So things have changed a little bit.
technology to communicate, to bank.
Anybody know this guy? No? Y'all are too young, I guess. Oh, you do? Singer of Black Eyed Peas.
Information, and none of us know how to read and write code.
When I was in school, I was in this after-school group called the Whiz Kids. And when people found out, they laughed at me and, you know, all these things. And I'm like, man, I don't care. I think it's cool. And, you know, I'm learning a lot. And some of my friends have jobs.
Our policy is literally to hire as many talented engineers as we can find. The whole limit in the system is just that there just aren't enough people who are trained and have these skills today.
To get the very best people, we try to make the office as awesome as possible.
We have a fantastic chef,
Free food,
breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
free laundry.
Snacks, even places to play and video games and scooters. There's all these kind of interesting things around the office and places where people can play or relax or go to think or play music or be creative.
Whether you're trying to make a lot of money or whether you just want to change the world, computer programming is an incredibly empowering skill to learn.
I think if someone had told me that software is really about humanity, that it's really about helping people by using computer technology, it would have changed my outlook a lot earlier.
To be able to actually come up with an idea and then see it in your hands and then be able to press a button and have it be in millions of people's hands. I mean, I think we're the first generation in the world that's really ever had that kind of experience.
Just to think that, I mean, you can start something in your college dorm room and you can have a set of people who haven't built a big company before come together and build something that 1 billion people use as part of their daily lives is just crazy to think about, right? It's humbling and it's amazing.
The programmers of tomorrow are the wizards of the future. You know, you're going to look like you have magic powers compared to everybody else.
I think it's amazing. I think it's the closest thing we have to a superpower.
Great coders are today's rock stars. That's it.
Okay, so this is a super old video. These numbers are not correct. They're much higher now. Also, code.org is a great resource. You should go check it out. All right. So now that we feel thoroughly inspired and motivated to write code, let's get into this week's Unit 2. So this one is focused on basic gameplay, but before that, they launch you into this intro to the idea of project management and teamwork, which we're not doing in here. We're actually working on our own, but good concepts for you to know to actually get a job with a video game design company so you can see the pipeline of how things work. So make sure you read and mark these complete for that first tutorial. Okay, so diving into Unit 2, here's an overview of it. You're going to be making a top-down game, learning some kind of fundamental, very important coding things in creating games. So in the beginning, player positioning, so they teach you how to have things spawn in a certain place. Second lesson is food flight, they called it, which is learning how to instantiate a game object, which just means bring it into existence at a certain point in time. So you're going to be coding how to hit the space bar on your keyboard to instantiate a projectile coming from the player to eventually hit these poor animals with. So, yeah, to make them disappear. So in the next lesson, Random Animal Stampede, you're going to learn how to randomly spawn different animals coming from the top of the screen going downwards towards you as you shoot your food projectiles at them. Okay, next lesson deals with collision detections. So learning how to, in your code, make the animal and the projectile disappear once the collision happens, right? So like a 2D space shooter top down, same thing. Spaceship moving left and right, shooting upward, stuff coming down, and when the collision happens between the projectile and the enemies, they both disappear. So learning how to do that in code is for 2.4. And then you'll be ready for your challenge, having those lessons under your belt. So the first, let me show you the finished prototype first. So once you get through with all the lessons, you should be here. A little confusion from some of you thinking that you needed to publish your prototype also. You don't, okay? You can. That's great if you want to, but I'm not counting it as a grade. I am only publishing my prototype to show you what it's like when it's done. So let's play it real quick. All right, so I can move the player left and right only. We have randomly spawning animals, animated animals. That is important. Your animals do need to be animated, like they're actually walking or running. And you should be able to shoot projectiles. Mine is not making them disappear, so that is not a requirement in the lessons. I think you get to that later on. At least I don't think so. If I'm wrong about that, please come tell me. But you can see that there is collisions happening. These little stakes that I'm shooting at the animals is stopping when it hits the animals. Okay. Yeah, I think we add the disappearing part later. But it's very simple. In code, it's literally the word destroy will make something disappear. Okay. So next, your challenge, which remember, the challenge you do actually have to do a discussion post for with a clickable, playable link where I can go and play your game. So here's my completed challenge for Unit 2. So again, in all the challenges, you're basically using the same code. You're just kind of putting it in a different level from the prototype. So what are the similarities here? Here, I'll demonstrate real quick. So I'm hitting spacebar to spawn a dog going to the left side of the screen, right? And instead of animals coming down from the top, we have balls falling from the top. Randomly different color balls. And you can see, I don't know if you saw that, if I time the dog correctly, it will make the ball disappear. Oh, there we go. Do you see that? So that's, again, same code. We got a collision happening, making the ball disappear. And also, you'll notice I can't spam the space bar to make 1 billion dogs, okay? So that's purposeful, and that's in the code, and that's something I'm going to be looking for on your challenge, is that I cannot spam to instantiate 1 billion dogs. It has a cooldown. It won't let a dog be spawned until a certain amount of time has passed. So that's also a very valuable thing to learn in writing your code, is have little pauses in time, cooldowns. That is how you create gameplay. Okay. So don't forget your 3 requirements in the discussion post. I have not graded your one from last week yet to see if y'all are doing that, but hopefully you got all 3 requirements. Screenshot of it in action, clickable link to play it, and your 2 written sentences. Okay, so now on to the lab. Let's go look at the modules real quick. Remember, with each of these units, you have a lab, which is a continuing project that you're adding on to throughout this first 6 weeks. So very simply, on lab 2, actually, let's go look at the lesson for it. That's not it. Back. I thought I had it up. Let's go here. Yeah. So lab 2, new project with primitives. So in lab 1, all you did was create a design document, sort of overviewing what kind of game you're going to make. And let's just watch this overview together, very short, of the second lab.
Now that we have our design documents filled out, we're ready to get started working in Unity. But we're going to do things a little differently this time. Rather than starting out with fancy assets like vehicles, characters, or animal prefabs like we have before, we're going to start out using primitive, simple shapes like cubes, spheres, and capsules. And those primitive shapes are going to have simple colored materials like blue, red, and green. I know this might seem less exciting than what you've done before, but it's actually more exciting because this is how the pros do it. I'll explain why in a second, but by the end of this lesson, you will have placeholder primitive objects set up for the key components of your project. So why use primitive shapes when you can use awesome 3D assets? Well, when you're developing your own project and you're trying to stick to a deadline, the thing you want to nail down first is the core functionality. Basic movement, basic controls, basic gameplay. And what we don't want to do is get caught up in the weeds. Making minor tweaks to graphics to make them look just right, especially since as you develop the project, your requirements may change. Then you'll have really wasted your time. So we're going to start out with these primitive objects and simple materials. Later down the line, when you've nailed down the core functionality of your project, we'll get fancy and replace those primitives with beautiful artwork. But first, to make all that happen, I'll see you in Unity.
Okay, so again, the main point there is for you to focus on the code. If you get caught up in how your level looks and you're focusing on tweaking the shaders and the collisions of the fancy models, you get kind of unfocused on your code. So that's why in this second lab, they want you to just use very simple primitive shapes that are already in Unity: spheres, cubes, capsules. Okay, so what does it look like once you're finished with lab 2? It's pretty uneventful. It's really just blocking out the simple part of your level so that, you know, you have a sphere representing you here and you have your enemies up there. That's literally it. You're just blocking out your level, what it's going to look like. Okay, so different from our first lab, and this is very important because this is how it's going to be going forward with all the other units in the labs. Your requirement in the discussion post for the second lab is not only a screenshot, but a package file, okay? And this is something we haven't done yet, how to make a package file of your scene. So on step number 2 here, you can click on the link, and that's going to take you to a file. And make sure I have instructions for this. Yeah. So in here, it tells you how to make a package. Number 6, you have to go to step number 6. That's why right here it says step number 6. So make sure you click on that link that takes you to the file, and then go inside and click step number 6, how to export a Unity package backup file. Okay. So it's basically going to teach you how to take your entire scene and turn that into a Unity package file, which you're going to then put into the discussion post as a file, okay? And of course, your 2 sentences describing one thing you learned about game design after completing this lab. Could be, I learned how to make a package file. That's totally valid. All right, after that, you've got your first quiz in this class, which covers the first mission, not the first unit. I know that's confusing. I think I'm going to change that in the future. But this first quiz covers the first two units, the first mission, not just the first unit. Okay. And the last thing in the modules for this week, and I do want to inject right now, I am not going to be here for the rest of the week. I'm going to be gone tomorrow through Friday, so I won't see you until next Monday because I'm going out of town. So I do expect all of you to work diligently while I'm gone. You are welcome to email me or send me a message on Canvas if you have a specific question. Also, I very much want you all to help each other. If you notice someone struggling on something that you've already mastered, talk to them for a second. They're right next to you. Okay. So the last thing on the modules is a checkpoint exercise. And this is where you really get to flex your skills that you've learned for the whole unit. It's a very simple project, but there's a lot you can do with it. It's called Mod the Cube. So you're literally going to take one cube in an empty scene. You're going to create a script to put on it, and you're going to see how much you can make it do with that one script. So I'm going to quickly jump to the lesson just to show you what they expect you to do, and then I'm going to show you my version, which goes far beyond that. Okay, so scroll down here. Lab 2, quiz 2. I think I've got a direct link to it. Let me go back. Yeah, on the actual Canvas assignment, I've got a direct link to it. If you just scroll down. There it is. Okay, so you do need to download the challenge assets on this one. Get your zip file. Inside that zip file is a folder with the Unity package file. So you're just going to use the same project that you've been using for this whole unit. Create a new empty scene, import this package into it, and you'll be ready to go for this challenge. It's not technically a challenge. They call it a checkpoint exercise because it's at the end of mission 1, taking all you know and putting it in. Okay, so you got the zip, you've got it open. Scroll down here to the, okay. So they give you a script file already called cube.cs, and they want you to add to it to try to add all of this functionality. So what do we got here? Change the cube's location, change how big it is, the scale, change the angle at which the cube rotates, change the rotation speed, the material color, the cube's material opacity. You can really do anything you want to this cube as long as you do it just in code. They also suggest adding extra functionality. Might have it change color over time, which is something I implemented. So let's go ahead and look at my finished version. See if you can notice some other things that you see changing that are not what I just said. So it's clearly getting bigger and smaller over time. It's rotating. It's changing between two colors. Yes, it's glowing. So that is something that I did not do in code. So you are allowed to alter the look of it if you want, since I did. And I did that just by adding a post-process volume with some bloom in it to give it that glow. All right, so that's your ending exercise that you got to finish by the end of the week. Make sure you get everything else done first so that you have the skills and knowledge necessary to add to that cube. Also, once you complete that, they give you an asset that you unlock, which is this cool kitchen scene. So on the Unity Asset Store, after you've completed, passed the quiz on the Unity Learn site, and submitted your Mod the Cube exercise, it will unlock not only your badge for completing that first mission, but this asset for the kitchen, which you'll use in another, or you can use in another project for us later. Okay, that is it. Let me go ahead and unlock your screens. Remember, if you get stuck on anything, I won't be here, but you're welcome to ask your neighbor first. If they don't have any help for you, then you can send me an email or a message on Canvas. All right, good luck, everybody.